Okay.
want to.
Well, I'll go with the normal speed. This is designed to be 20 or 30 minutes.
Whatever
and
feels
still
right.
Fast. What?
Whatever feels right.
Cool. So yeah, xenogaming. Warning: there's an overton window is like what's normal to talk about in the public sphere. So you may have whiplash from this presentation. I want to read this quote because I love this quote. It's from the Buddha Gnostic Workbook, which is like a massive, like huge, thick book about like contemporary cyber voodoo. And so there are certain people who will sneer at what I have to say, but they do not matter. In fact, they do not really exist. But what I have to say is this. There are these mutants, and they are now within the most powerful magical orders and groups in the world today. They are slowly working to destroy utterly the old ways. They are making use of the most subtle methods of modern information science to achieve their ends. They are fearful of nothing, which means they only fear the powers of the Mayon, or non-existent. They possess the disciplined mentality of the synchronistic robotic consciousness and nothing else. They have only one loyalty, and they have only one sense of honor, and that is to Yugoth, or Pluto, and only to Yugoth. And by means of their weird techniques of computer programming, they will win out over all their opposition, because ultimately there is only one fundamental power, and that too is Yugoth. So what is xenogaming? This emergent game is already out there, feral as schizophrenia, and nascent in myths and nomics. Nomics are games with self-modifying rules. So what is xenogaming? It's immersive post-capitalist worlding. We don't have to wait to live in a material post-capitalist world if we already are post-capitalist people and post-capitalist subjects that experience our world as post-capitalist. It's also an invasive outer world entity, essentially Yagsata, a virulent parallel reality which is trying to like suck us into a parallel universe, whether we like it or not. It's an open source peer-to-peer dissensus reality construction framework. So instead of consensus, dissensus, like differences in how people see the world with communication across those differences. And a new kind of apocalyptic gig economy, holistic alternative mental health framework, and an emerging alchemical society, like the global shaman class, which maybe actually genetically engineered the modern human body through ancient, like arranged marriages, has been persecuted for the last 2,000 to 12,000 years, which culminated in the formation of the Catholic Church. Did you know there's still an office of the Inquisition open in Peru today? There's still an office of the Inquisition open. And so if we form this like global network of highly engaged activists, highly engaged gamers who are mythologically savvy, we can reconstitute this global shaman class. Let's escape from capitalism, the game. So what would gaming look like on Holochain? Holochain, for people who find explaining blockchains to their friends and family too easy. So yeah, I already talked about Holochain. Here's a pretty graphic open source library, fully decentralized peer-to-peer applications, no built-in currency, but Holo will add one. And then we'll also reach out and help others to make additional currencies in communities, and one chain per user per app version. This is the DHT, the distributed hash table. Not the, yeah. Did anyone read Deleuze and Guattari, 1,000 Plateaus? Yeah, great book. So gaming on Holochain will be massively multiplayer, collaboratively constructed rule sets, because each Holochain application can enforce its own internal rule set. I think we'll have things like highly coordinated flash mobs, peer-to-peer spread and onboarding of people to this new technology, an overflow of abundance, because like once I have enough abundance in my life, what is the meaningful like pro-social activity that I can do in my life? Is sharing my abundance and like teaching people and onboarding people to whatever abundance it is that I have and know how to teach. And it's also gaming as activism. I'm going to change that word, so it's marketing. Gaming as activism is marketing. So just by making highly fun games that engage people on a massive scale, and by designing these games so that they have an activist impact on the world, a positive impact, we also market Holochain and they install Holochain. So this is my way of justifying this work as well. So yeah, what if I told you the post-monetary economy is already here in a smeared hyper-real apocalypse, and you just need to invite yourself to the party with a well-formed hollow query language statement. So onboarding, ontological onboarding. So this is abducting people into a parallel universe, installing their crystal implant, imprinting them with the dollhouse architecture, if you've seen Dollhouse, simulating them to the board, installing cyborg implants, scanning them into the game, and like helping them cross a membrane into another world, the world of crypto culture. Cyborgification ritual. So the post-capitalist subject, we are all Oedipal capitalist subjects because we live in late stage capitalism and modernity. So we all think of ourselves as an I, as an individual, for the most part, and people try to escape that or change that in various ways. The thing is, I'm a psychologist, and psychologically speaking, you can't deconstruct your Oedipal complex without becoming psychotic. Or if you do it very, very carefully over many years, you can become like gently psychotic, and that's like being a Buddha, like just gently. and that can be a
doge.
That can be a good thing. Yeah, certainly you can become a doge, like doge consciousness, pure. But that I would say is actually very similar or the same as the outcome of becoming a post-capitalist or post-Oedipal subject. So you're not deconstructing your Oedipal complex, you're not deconstructing your sense of personal identity and separateness from the world, but you're actually doing more interesting things than that with who you are and how your identity functions. Maybe you're becoming multiple people, maybe you're taking on a complex interaction with an archetypal identity, like an alter ego or a superhero identity or something like that, like you dress up in party clothes and that kind of thing. So all these things are like more interesting variations on the Oedipal complex than just trying to annihilate your identity. So yeah, how do we create religious zealots like these hollow people? We need to create a sky cult. And that's what I've done. I've made like 3 sky cults. Dank praxis. So here are the kind of real world facets of xenogaming that are actually practical. So there's, I think it's magnetism and manifestation, which is our marketing department in Holo. That's what Sammy's calling it. Weird and viral marketing. Connective tissue or cross-pollination amongst different organizations and groups. Protocol design, so designing decentralized protocols for decentralized organizing. Neo-digital outreach, which is this networking of different hacker spaces and hacker communities together, and also telling them that they live in a hologram. And then there's meaningful gamification, which is, gamification is often a misused term. It's about like how to get people addicted to extracting dopamine from the games they play. And instead, meaningful gamification is about how can we make rich, like deeply fulfilling games and interactions that are also maybe related to activist intents. And then app pipeline, connecting this all to pipelines of support and resources for helping people to formalize these games as holochain apps or whatever type of decentralized app. This is actually from your Facebook page. What would the world be like if all military spending were redirected to the creation of next level party technology? So yeah, weird and viral marketing, you guys know about this, memes and all that. I blame actually like moods for the election of Trump, the creator of 4chan. I think it's like accelerationists have so many clocks. Okay, cross-pollination. I'm gonna skip through this stuff because it's all pretty self-explanatory. Cross-pollination of protocols, of the myth of the bees, and peer-to-peer canvassing. This is something I'm working on a lot, is peer-to-peer canvassing ethics and methodology. So how do we replicate the way that I do organizing or the way that Gary or other people in this room do political or decentralized community organizing? How do we teach that and replicate that to more decentralized organizers? It's really hard to get a second person in a group, because I'm starting all these groups all the time, to do the scheduling. It's really hard to get people to actually like step up and be an organizer. So how do we train people and teach people and inspire people to do that? It's an Airbnb for communal. So neo-digital outreach, you're already living in a digital world, networking different communities and getting them set up with a holoport and decentralized apps for what they need. Hackerspace replication, finding the cool things that one hackerspace has, and then finding a way to replicate those to other places. For example, printing press, 3D printers, like different facilities, and also the knowledge to operate those facilities. We need to have a training program for cross-pollination. Meaningful gamification, mass public gaming. And okay, so here's the map, which is, this is an app that my teammate made based on my design last fall. And this is all of the app ideas that I've collected for different holochain or decentralized apps of any kind. And there's a new version of this that I'm working on, but it's just like, and this is just a very early draft of like something that could later become very advanced and complete. But complete, like kind of stratification of the possible kinds of applications that you could build on holochain. And you can access this at map.holohackers.org. And you can just click and add a dot, and those dots will, what you type in for each dot will be added to the next version of the map. So everyone can brainstorm ideas together on this tool. Yeah, there's no time. Okay, so yeah, xenogaming industries. So I talked about what xenogaming is. And then xenogaming industries is like our algorithms are already operative. Like it's actually already quite an advanced stage of development. Xenogaming Industries is a distributed alternative reality corporation. We found evidence of xenogaming industries already operating in this timeline as early as 2005, and we're currently like trying to excavate further, evidence of the changes that they've made to our timeline in order to extract value from this history. It's a coherent linguistic platform. It's an evolving anti-platform for collective art, and it's the mythic gaming department of Holochain. So xenogaming industries is creating an era of mass public gaming, resulting in the breakdown of capitalist subjectivity and the production of post-capitalist subjectivities and modes of living. Xenogaming industries is committed to offering an escape hatch from capitalism into a labyrinth of transfinite portals. And then I'm talking with Arcade Cities right now. They're very excited to develop Unter, decentralized Uber clone on Holochain, and just the name of their company, Arcade City, is so amazing and so evocative of like xenogaming and xenogaming industries. They want to add quests and games and like little pop-ups on the map for their drivers, which if you do it right, it makes the job more humane and it makes it more fun. And if you do it in a decentralized way, then it's not yet another value extraction trick. It's not yet another like managerial kind of offensive little game. If we do it in a decentralized way, it's us creating these games for ourselves. She's a pro xenogamer. Okay, so legalize xenogaming. This is very important. We're not loitering, we're playing Pokemon Go. Like if we have communities of users that are using all the same application, they are aligned and united around their use of the application, then we can start to protect our user bases. We can say stop harassing our users for playing games according to the rules that they agreed to play the games by. And so we can actually create the grounds for expanding digital citizenship, decentralized citizenship, and protecting different communities of users and the activities that they've agreed with each other to do. Pokemon were around us the whole time, we just now have the technology. So, yeah, the year 2028, Pokemon Go has rid the world of obesity. Everyone knows everyone in their neighborhoods. Loneliness is an archaic concept. All national borders have been erased, so players can search for Pokemon unrestricted. There's no war, there's no suffering, the planet is finally at peace. So this is like the vision of xenogaming, is if we can like create this giant movement, eventually they'll reach a point where it starts to break out into public consciousness. And I call this point in history the kitten wars. Because it's like this, on the one hand you have people like Gary and like DDP who are doing these fun parties, and then on the other hand you have people who are like reacting violently to parties and getting angry and like trying to shut these people down. So as this continues to break out into public consciousness, we'll have this war between these new fun societies that are consensual and creating things that everyone enjoys, and then these old societies that are just trying to like shut them down for no clear reason. So here are a few dark chain technologies. There's a quote from the movie In the Mouth of Madness by John Carpenter, the director. It's funny, isn't it? For years I thought I was making all this up, but they were telling me what to write, giving me the power to make it all real. And now it is. All those horrible, slimy things trying to get back in, they're all true. Come, see the instrument of their homecoming. And that instrument is theory fiction. So this is stories from which we extract theory, and then we develop the theory, and then we use that additional theory to elaborate the story. This works really well with sci-fi, so you can speculatively develop both your theory and a really great mythology to go with it. So in blockchain, there's this idea of eventual consistency. I don't know if blockchain proper has eventual consistency. Holochain is eventually consistent, but what does that mean exactly? It means like things that seem like they're out of place or don't fit into the synthetic superstructure now will later be brought into that structure. So if there's inconsistencies or disjuncts or like imperfections now, you have faith or you have some type of proof or guarantee that eventually those dissident elements will be rolled together into some future synthesis. So through this type of storytelling, you can, what are they called? Side effects, like the side effects of your storytelling, the plot holes, the loose threads, you can later take those back in and use them as leads for creating new aspects of theory. So that the things that are imperfect now become sources of creativity. So yeah, mapping alien topographies. You can use this to find these like mythological magic items or hyper objects in the terrain of mythology. So the new Bible that starts the change helps you see, and I'm almost done with this. Dark chain technology. The dark chain is the chain of ideas which lead to the next dominant paradigm. So this is analogous to the blockchain, but instead of having a chain of transactions, the chain is a chain of ideas which each link to and expand upon a previous idea. So what we're mining here is meaning. Instead of we're mining coins, we're mining meaning with our imaginations. And it also, it gets you really high if you do this type of creative work. So you mean you don't have a holographic wallet that prints love money? Here, just take a copy of mine. And so this is like abundance and the replication of abundance. This is a picture of the Darkhold, which is basically the Necronomicon from the TV show Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 4. And this is the Holo logo on top of it, which is also the Pisces symbol. This is like the collective communist ritual. Okay, so Holo Chan. Have any of you heard of Pepe Cash?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah? Okay, for those of you that haven't, Pepe Cash is it's kind of like after Dogecoin actually. They did this like trading card network with images. And it was based on Pepe. Doge is a much more fun meme. I don't know why people like Pepe name so much, but I don't know, they're gonna kill me now that this is being recorded. But anyway, Pepe Cash originally was a what's it called? It had negative. It was a deflationary currency because they would burn half of the Pepe Cash every week. They would just burn it. And Pepe Cash went to the people who were creating new cards. So the idea of a rare Pepe meme, it's actually ironic because you have to submit your rare Pepe to this central board that approves it as a rare Pepe. They verify it as a rare Pepe, and then they enter it on the blockchain with a certain number of official copies that people can own. And then if they buy those, you get Pepe Cash. So it's a trading card network. It's an image-based meme or trading card game. And it's super centralized because you have to submit them here. And it's very ironic because a rare Pepe is precisely not a rare Pepe anymore once it's registered on the blockchain. And they're also working on building a trading card game, like a boxed trading card game about the rare Pepe cards. And I won't pull up an example, but you can see here's an example here. They're just like, they look like kind of Magic the Gathering cards. They almost all have this format of being like a trading card, this little one right here. And then they have some text. But the text doesn't do anything. And they were thinking in this, well, it's gone, but in the trading card game, the boxed trading card game proposal, they're trying to make a boxed game that uses some of the Pepe Cash cards, and there are thousands of them, to make an interesting board game. And to me, this is super boring because it's a finite game. If you've read Finite and Infinite Games, this is a little finite box game that they're designing from the top down. And it doesn't use all the emergent properties of the cards and all the creativity that people have put into these cards. But if you started to make rules and games on Holochain, each card could be a different Holochain app, and the Holochain app could actually enforce the rules on the card. So you could actually gradually build an emergent game that had real meaningful interactions between different types of cards, and each of those cards could function in kind of like a kind of card space or bounty system type environment. So then everything becomes like a trading card game instead of having like a tiny trading card game that you buy from the Pepe Cash company. So problems with Pepe Cash is all about Pepe. It relies on scarcity as its primary mechanism. It's a closed process for adding new cards, and it's hard to meaningfully index and employ hieroglyphs. This is some gematria stuff. So what we need is a meme library or a memebrary, which is basically Holo Chan. So HoloChan will have a distributed self-upgrading GUI, provenance, meaning it'll not be anonymous, but it'll be based on figuring out who is curating the memes, who first introduced these images to the network. And you can also do tagging and searching and all that stuff. So this will create an accelerated, concentrated meme economy, whereas, for example, 4chan, because it's anonymous, is hugely productive and abundant in its creation of new content. HoloChan will be more about concentrating and focusing down and weaponizing that content for replication and redistribution. So yeah, HoloChan already exists in the future, and we can access it now by constructing well-formed queries. I'm working on a Holo query language which can access these queries. So this section is just some memes, so we're almost near the end, just for fun. Where is the Middle East headed? Into the Tellurian insurgency of the Earth towards Xenodrome. Oh, these are great. These are HoloChain memes. That's Arthur Brock of HoloChain. Yeah, so like Holo, are these fucks not interested in making money? What the fuck is the purpose of this coin? I'm getting a bit nervous having put some ETH into this shit. I bought at 150 rings, I'm kind of nervous now. So people cannot figure out that HoloChain is not a scam. He's like, what are you doing? Why is this not making me an obscene amount of money that I didn't work for? This is a Pokemon card, HoloChain Mega FOMO, penetrates every exchange and forces everyone to, if fear of missing out, FOMO in, thus causing an extreme rise in the market cap. Undeniable persuasion. So this is saying that, I don't know if I have this one, no. It's saying that, there's another meme I have somewhere that says, the HoloChain won't be on the exchanges will be on HoloChain. So it, like, as a GUI platform, as a platform for creating distributed applications, it kind of trumps like the currency that's being traded on those applications. Do you care more about like, if the currencies were more easily exchangeable, would you care about which currency you were using, or like which app you used every single day and whether that app was secure? I personally want to use a nice app that's secure and distributed and well governed. And then when I'm trading with it, as long as it's stable value storage, I don't care so much. And again, HoloChain is for all kinds of apps, not just that. So yeah, I am HoloMeme on Twitter, and this is a bit outdated, but what I'm doing right now actually is, let me go back. What I'm doing right now is actually I'm starting an alternate reality games autonomous research group, or ARG squared. So alternate reality games are these games like Halo had one, and a few other like movies and things like that have had these huge marketing campaigns that are actually viral distributed games and distributed reality games, alternate reality games. And a lot of them have been kind of disappointing, because if you get like a mysterious call on the payphone, or like some cool letter in the mail inviting you to a secret society or an adventure, and then you do all the steps and then you just find out, oh, it was for Xbox. I was just part of a marketing campaign for Xbox. It's kind of a letdown. So it's kind of like that in A Christmas Story when he decodes with the decoder ring and that he saved up all of his points for, and then it just says, drink more Ovaltine. That's what the current like realm of alternate reality games are like. So I'm starting a research group, and we're putting together a research library on alternate reality games, and so then we may evolve into a think tank and or design firm putting together alternate reality games which teach people about cryptocurrencies. So this is kind of like the scope of xenogaming, is it's this huge project to create a massive intake apparatus for onboarding people from the old world to the new world through something that's fun and through something that is truly educative. So yeah, if you are interested in reading more, there are 2 papers on my website at this address, andersahmed.com, and there's one that's Team Briefing 2017. This was a 2-year research, like 2.5-year research project that was a beginning of a decentralized activism movement and group. And the thing is, you can't join the team, you can only create your own equivalent version of the team, your own meta-organization, which has the protocols and interfaces that allow it to become a peer with my secret organization. So everyone gets to be the head of their own secret organization, and then we form like the guild or the union of people who all have secret organizations. And then also this, if you're interested in kind of the economics of like the meme library, the meme economy, and how chat can function in a better way in general. I wrote this paper on HoloChat, which is currently being developed with some of the features that I thought of in this paper to create, to enable like massive collaboration and collective decision making and collective prioritization. So here's another paper that is relevant. Yeah, so that's what xenogaming is. Any questions?
What is xenogaming?
I didn't hear you. Cool.
Music. So that's the first time it's been at least recorded?
There are 2 other recordings, but they're not good, and I don't think they had video, so I really appreciate it.
I appreciate all you've created.
Thank you.
It's amazing stuff.
Very, yeah. Very good presentation. Are you gonna be at DogeCon?
Yes.
Are
Yeah.
Are you gonna do that?
Please, I want,
Yes.
Yeah,
I
you
want
got it.
time scheduled for that. Yeah.
Has to happen.
It's the perfect place.
Yeah, it is. That's why I'm so excited about it. And I also made actually a group called Doge, Decentralized Organizing Games Evangelism. So the acronym really works well too. I think there's something about adding the E to dog that does something with the acronym.
Well, did you know that Doge backwards is EGOT?
Yeah, we just need it. What about Toge? What's Toge?
Did you know that race car backwards is race car?
No.
And
yes.
did you know that there's a Doge race car?
Yes. It's amazing.
Coincidence?
Yeah. So yeah, Doge, there's something very special about this meme and this symbol as like a center point for organizing these types of mass games and decentralized activism.
What is your background? What, psychology? you said?
Yeah, I studied psychology as undergrad, and then graduate school I went to for educational psychology and educational technology. And I also studied some critical theory and educational philosophy and critical pedagogy. So like how to, like asking the question like, is it possible to teach someone without damaging them? Is it? It might not be. So we have to be super careful when we're teaching.
So you've heard us all.
So?
So you've heard us all. Yes, in process.
Possibly,
Yeah.
arguably. The new learning is like the infliction of one specific path, whereas if I hadn't said anything, it might have been some path that you came up with freely, without me adding my content to it. So for example, I'm working on a word app where you can type in words and they float around on the screen, and giving you something to like reduce information overload and reflect on your important concepts. And I spent like a whole year figuring out how to take out my intentions from it and my curriculum from it. So there'd still be some curriculum in the structure of the app, but it wouldn't be like, here's what I think you need to know. It would be more like, just play with this toy. So much better pedagogy.
So it's like a way of getting rid of all the distractions around you?
That's the purpose of the app, yeah. And then there are links to that on my website too. There's a video.
And you would consider that a xenogame then? Or is that
No.
Okay.
No, that's just a phone app.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. For me, xenogaming is like alternate reality games, so there's some type of real world component and some type of activist component and a mythological component.
What did you mean by the timeline stuff?
The app?
The 2005, you said they were
Oh.
going across into a different timeline?
Oh, I was joking. So xenogaming industries evolved from Sorcery of the Spectacle Corporation. I'm the admin of the subreddit Sorcery of the Spectacle. And so we formed SotsCorp. Hashtag, it's always spelled with the hashtag all lowercase, SotsCorp. And this is like an evil corporation that exists in the future. That they have sweatshop mines where they mine for new kinds of sweatshops, and they have one of our first products is the Cool Cube, which is a 3-mile-high polyester cube which we plan to helicopter over the Indian Ocean and then drop, and it's going to be the coolest publicity event in history. So like this is as a platform allows us to actually pre-mock our enemies. So like by the time they come out with like the actual Cool Cube or the actual like easy bake oven or whatever product, we are already making fun of these evil people, and we've already like moved on to the next thing. So it's a left accelerationist tool.
This is exciting.
Yeah, and
Is that like the philosophy behind most of this, accelerationism?
No, I wouldn't say exactly. It's one of several.
I'm not that academic, but yeah.
An acceleration.
I'm just
is
like
not
interested in
reaction.
where is your mind seems so like
Have you read Nick Land?
no. I'm just like trying to figure out where you're coming from. Like
Nick Land.
Nick Land, okay.
Yeah, and then I was going to say also hyperstition. So that mode of storytelling where you tell it as if something is already real, and then that in turn makes it more real, is called hyperstition.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah, so like the Willy Wonka candy that you can now buy in a store originally came from Roald Dahl's story,
Yeah.
and now it's real.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. Cool.
Anything else? I don't want to just.
What was the name of that book you had mentioned before that someone else had read?
What was the context?
Daniel, you read a book that he also read.
Oh,
We're trying to
it's
remember it.
Gilles Deleuze and Philippe Guattari, A Thousand Plateaus. A Thousand Plateaus. Or it's part of a two-part series called Capitalism and Schizophrenia, and the first book is called Anti-Oedipus, and the second book is called A Thousand Plateaus. It's fantastic. It's one of the most important books.
Capitalism and what?
It's schizophrenia. It's wonderful.
You reminded me of a weird concept we thought up a couple of years ago, which was we'd combine DDP, Pokemon Go, and the Harlem Shake, and we'd get people, instead of like doing the Harlem Shake, I'm trying to remember how it all worked. It would be like augmented reality, and people would go out and party in public and film each other, and there'd be like a party coin that you could earn. So it'd be like incentivized
Yeah.
global partying filmed around the world.
We're about
We-
to pause that, so it will
We should talk.
Yeah. I want to do holo ports. By the way, you'll be able to install the holo app on any hardware, but we're selling these holo ports. I want to do mini solar powered holo ports that look like Pokeballs. And so like they make money. Like so you have to go out and find them. Yeah.
Sounds
Cool. Thank you.
So you
Thank
can
you.
get hollow ports?
Our Indiegogo campaign is currently shut down, but it will reopen as a web store before they're released yet, most likely.
On the holochain site?
Yes. Or it would actually be holo.host, the holo site. We're trying to create a brand distinction there between the technology and the
So the
hosting company.
holochain site on that I just Googled is not
There's two. There's holochain.org and holo.host.
holo.
And I think I only showed one of them on the screen, yeah.
Okay.
What was your website again?
Andersaamodt.com. ANDERSAAMODT. I'm also the headmaster of the Internet School of Magic, which is internetschoolofmagic.com. And there's also a coalition of invisiblecolleges.org, which is a directory of meta-organizations. It's more of a prototype.
You got a lot of stuff. Yeah.
Well, again, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
It's going to be one of the most interesting presentations I've ever seen.
Thanks.
Yeah, for sure.
The original version had 286 slides.
Wow.
I trimmed it down.
How many was that?
That one was like 80, roughly.
We need the